All right, welcome Ceramics 2. We are going to be talking about how to cut out your tile at home for the relief tile project. So as you can see, I have some tablecloth under my clay so that it doesn't stick to the table. I have a chunk of clay. I actually used about a little less than half of what was in the bag, depending on how big your tile is. Mine is 5 by 6 inches. I have my clay sticks that I taped together. Watch that video if you haven't done it yet. I have my rolling pin. I have a little cup of water and something to cut out my tile with. So for most of you, that's going to be a bamboo skewer. You might have a knife at home that you can use and a little sponge. The last thing I have is this piece of cardboard that I cut out. That's the size of the tile to make sure that I get it nice and even. So it's 5 by 6 inches. So I wedged this clay and then I put it into kind of a rectangular shape. And the first thing I'm going to do is take and pound it a little bit. It's way too thick for me to try to roll out, especially with a cardboard rolling pin. We want these to be somewhat thick because we are going to be building them up. So we want them to be able to support the weight of what's going to be added to them without cracking. So if you make it too thin, it could crack under the weight of all your attachments. So I can already see that I probably have more clay than I need here. So to reduce the amount of effort involved, I can just cut some of this off using my bamboo skewer. I haven't rolled it yet. I'm just removing any excess because I'm, again, trying to reduce the amount of energy I have to put into rolling this. Okay. I might give it an additional pounding with my fist. I'm not pounding so hard that I'm leaving it super thin and vulnerable. I'm just pounding it so that I'm making my next step a little easier. So I'm using nice, even pushes with my hand. The next thing I'm going to do is take my rolling pin and I'm going to make sure that it is touching, that it can touch my clay strips here, my wooden slab strips, because they are going to help me get an even slab. So now what I'm going to do is I'm standing up and I'm pushing on this clay. I have a very wobbly table that I'm working on. Probably not the best choice, but didn't realize till I started. And I like to flip this clay over so that it is nice and even. All right, so I've laid my clay out. I've rolled my clay out. I left it a tiny bit thicker than the wooden rolling sticks here because, again, I am going to be attaching a lot of stuff to it and I want it to be able to withstand the weight and not crack. So I'm going to hold this up so you can see how thick it is. So it's about the thickness of my pointer finger. I know we all have different sized fingers, but about the thickness of my pointer finger. And it's pretty even. That's key here, is that it's nice and even. So now what I'm going to do is take my cardboard template and I'm going to use my bamboo skewer and cut this out. I'm holding it in place so that I get a nice clean edge. If you don't have a cardboard template and you're using a piece of paper, you might want to hold up one of your sticks to keep it nice and clean edge. And then I'm going to put all this clay back into my bag. I'm going to kind of ball it up. To take this off and for storage purposes, you each should have a piece of cardboard in your kit. And what I recommend doing with this is either wrapping it in saran wrap so that it doesn't start to disintegrate and fall apart, or lay a piece of newspaper on the surface and you can kind of tape it or just rest it underneath. So again, it's not directly on the cardboard. It will prevent the cardboard from falling apart and make it a little bit stronger. And so what I'm going to do is just gently take this off, and then rather than picking it up, what I do is I lay this down and I kind of grab both edges and then flip it. And there's my tile. So it's got some marks from the tablecloth, not a big deal. I'm going to take my sponge, dip it in a little bit of water, and just smooth it down. And I'm also going to smooth the edges a little bit. Keep this covered when you're done with it. It will get dried out, and it's important that it stays damp because you are going to be making a bunch of attachments to it. And then I'm just going to smooth my edges. Again, you can see here, it's not super thick, about the thickness of my pointer finger.